Hello, how are you? I hope you're doing well. It has been a little while since I've given you an update on my projects, my knitting, my crochet, sewing, needlepoint, all of it. Um, so that is what we are going to do today. I have two finished objects, a new cast on, and some decent progress on some of my other things. So I think I'll just jump on in and get started with my first category, which is actually going to be bags or Japanese knot bags. So here are the two little knot bags that I made in the past week and a half. This one, red one, you have seen before. I cast that off, but I will start with this yellow one. This was a sewing project I did about a week ago. And I followed an Instagram tutorial for this one. I will include that link somewhere in the description. But it was a free tutorial, and the fabric is fabric that I bought on Etsy. So this is what the bag looks like unknotted. It's kind of just like, I don't know how these knot bags look. And I am thrilled with how this bag turned out. I think it looks so good. I love the colors of this fabric. I looked it up and I think it is some sort of Japanese print. I'm not 100% sure on that, but that is what Google said. For the lining fabric, I used a random like burgundy quilting cotton that I had lying around. It's some sort of like Kona solids, and it's just the fabric that I had that most closely matched the burgundies within the yellow like main outer fabric. Overall, I really liked this pattern. This is, I think, my first sewn bag. And I do have plans to make more of these. When I placed an order for this yellow fabric, I also ordered some other fabrics that I really want to make into these little knot bags as well. And I think it's just like a super fun bag. So, two things about the pattern that I followed. The first is that it was in either Spanish or Portuguese. I do not speak either of those languages, so I did a little Google Translate. So that was like my first little barrier. My second barrier is, I think, because I was doing that, some things were lost in translation, and I felt like I was relying on YouTube a lot to get me through some of the steps, or there was an Instagram Reels that I was just like constantly pausing every 2 seconds so I could see what the next step was as I was going along. But overall, not super complicated. And I think now that I've done one, I know what to do for the next one that I make, and how to make that, I think, a little bit better. I did have some issues with this fabric fraying along the edges. I think I just like trimmed my edges a bit too close to the seam, and so some of the fabric did kind of, or the thread from like the decorative part of the fabric, I don't know, it's kind of falling out from the seam, but whatever, not a problem. So that is my first knot bag, and that is my only sewing project for this video. My second knot bag is my Pearl Soho dumpling bag. It does not look so cute like that. I think in this video I'm going to try something a little different where I will put B-roll footage on the screen, because I really struggle to like hold everything up and show what I'm talking about. So I'm going to be looking at it and talking about it with B-roll on the screen. But anyways, this is my dumpling bag from Pearl Soho. It is a free pattern on Ravelry and on their website. And I knit mine in Wool and the Gang's Shiny Happy Cotton in the color Lipstick Red. So I think you've seen this bag a few times before, and I believe last time I spoke about it, I was talking about potentially doing like a double stockinette for the handles, which I ended up deciding to not do. I wound up just doing, as the pattern said, like a normal stockinette stitch. And I am having the curl, the stockinette curl on the handles, which is what I wanted to avoid with the double stockinette. But I was afraid I wasn't going to have enough yarn to do that. So ultimately decided against it. In hindsight, I probably could have. I definitely have enough yarn, at least for one of the straps. I think for the longer strap, I have at least enough yarn left to do that in double stockinette. I'm not sure if I'd have enough to do the smaller one, so I may go back in a few weeks and redo that. But I do want to wear this out and about, so I wanted it off my needles, and I want to keep it off my needles for a little while, maybe like July or August. I will kind of rip back and re-stitch the larger handle. The only modification I did end up making is doing Judy's Magic Cast On instead of knitting in the round and Kitchener stitching up the bottom as the pattern calls for. And I think that's the only modification I made. I think I knit this with the recommended needle size. I want to say it was a 7, US 7. I don't remember what needle size it was, but I knit with the recommended needle size for this, and overall I think it just turned out super cute. It is definitely a bright color, again a bright color for me, not one that I normally wear, although I do have a pair of ballet flats in this color that I love, so I don't know, I think I'd probably wear a bag in this color too. So we shall see if I get any wear out of it this spring and summer, and I will let you know. But that is my dumpling bag by Pearl Soho. Again, that is a free pattern, and that is my only cast off, my only finished object for, well, finished knitting object for this video. Those are my two only finished objects. Both of them are these little knot bags, and I think just so cute. When I cast off that dumpling bag, I promptly cast on another bag, and that is the Juno bag, or Juno Clutch by Petite Knit, and I cast this on in my Barocco Modern Linen in the color Spice, I believe. This is what I have right now. It is just a little bottom of a clutch. I think I'm about an inch or so into the body, but it is, I think, looking really nice, and a really fun pattern to knit. It's this really gorgeous lacy kind of openy mesh texture that I am loving. It is a really simple 4-round repeat, easy enough to memorize. You're really actually just doing the same thing over and over again, basically. And I love it. This is the first textured pattern that I've been able to memorize. Granted, I've only done cables once, and I attempted lace once before and failed at that. So I'm proud of myself that I have been able to memorize this pretty easily. It almost feels like stockinette. It is like as easy as stockinette is for me, if that makes sense, or like a 2x2 rib or something. It's something that I was watching a show the other night, and I was able to work on this without looking at it all the time, which felt like a huge accomplishment for me. So it is somewhat mindless knitting, which I am very excited about because it's different from stockinette. But anyways, I am really enjoying this pattern. Again, a very simple pattern. I think it looks more complicated than it is. I think I completed, whoopsie, I just dropped a stitch. I think I completed most of this within like 3 or 4 days so far. And I have obviously not been knitting exclusively on this. I think I've probably worked on this for maybe 6 hours, 7 hours, maybe less. Ooh, almost stabbed myself in the eye. Maybe less. I don't know, 5 hours, but this is what I have got so far. This is just the bottom of the clutch. And I think it is moving along really quickly. If you want to do some sort of like fun textured knit for the summer, I would highly recommend this bag. It doesn't have a ton of projects on Ravelry. I think there's around 20, but I like everyone else's projects as well. So I don't know, I just feel like you can't go wrong with a petite knit pattern. I am really liking this yarn. I like how it feels in my hand. I love how it's working up. It feels soft, but it also does have some of that like linen-y, I don't know, it's not like papery feeling. I don't know what you would call, how to describe it. It's like slightly woody, I guess. It kind of feels like, you know, like linen, like running your hand over some wood. It feels papery-ish. I don't know. It has like a rough, very natural feeling to it. So I do really like how this yarn feels. It was great to knit on the 80-degree days that we had about a week ago. It was so hot here. So I was grateful to have this to work on. No modifications. I am knitting on the recommended needles. I have just about hit gauge. I didn't do a gauge swatch and I haven't blocked it yet, but I'm about half an inch-ish shy of gauge. So I'm hoping that when I block it, it will grow a little bit. I have not ordered the clutch frame yet. I will do that once I finish it and block it and know how big this is so I know what size to order. So yeah, that is everything on my Juno clutch. I really think I'm going to be a handmade bag girl this summer. I was never really interested in knitting bags, crocheting bags. I was more so interested in, but knitting bags never really like, I don't know, I never thought they were like that exciting. But I don't know, for some reason right now I'm like very into making bags. So who knows, maybe I'll cast on like 400 more bags. Actually, I do have plans for one more bag that I want to cast on for specifically this summer. But I think I'm only going to work on one bag, one knit or like crocheted bag at a time. Because I really don't need like 4,000 bags. So that is my Juno clutch. That is all of my bags. So now we're going to move on to the two sweaters I've been working on. The first of which is my Toffee Sweater by Cozy Knits. I haven't done too much to it since you last saw it, but I did add both of the double stockinette button bands for the V-neck on the front of the sweater. And I think my next step is to technically join in the round, but as I mentioned, I will be knitting the front and back flat to kind of keep my rowing out issue consistent. So I was thinking about this sweater the other day, and I was kind of thinking, oh, maybe I should just frog it and completely start over. I was feeling frustrated with the instructions or how the pattern is written. It's just not written in a way that is how my brain works. And I was doing the double stockinette. I guess I keep calling them button bands, but it's just like the V-neck. There's no buttonholes or anything. I was doing that, and the pattern basically says, do this, and here's a link to watch it, how to do it. And I was watching the video and I felt very confused. I was feeling pretty frustrated with part of it. And I was kind of just ready to give up and kind of, I don't know, frog this, hibernate this. I'm not totally sure what. But then I got the hang of it. I figured it out, and I felt really proud of myself for figuring it out. I know that's probably something that like most people know how to do. I'm still very much so a beginner knitter. I will say I am a delusionally confident beginner knitter, but I'm definitely a beginner knitter still. And I was really proud of myself for figuring that out. And within this project in general, this sweater has really taught me a lot. I learned how to do Judy's Magic Cast On through this sweater, which I just used on my Pearl Soho dumpling bag. I have done this little double-faced button band or double stockinette button band through this, which is something I've never done. I have done like the double knitting, the double stockinette before, but I've never done like pick up stitches and do the button band and how you like add stitches as you go down. And I also have really never dealt with rowing out before, but for some reason this is like my first time dealing with it in a significant way. I've dealt with like a few small sections of rowing out that I've been able to kind of, fix. But this is my first time really dealing with some significant rowing out, and I didn't learn this through my own research, but someone kindly commented a little trick to help with rowing out, which I tried and worked. To an extent, it did help, but not as much as I was hoping it would. I probably should have gone down another needle size for the purl side than I did. But anyways, I'm kind of rambling, but I'm just trying to say that I'm learning a lot through this pattern, and I think that if you're working on a pattern that is really challenging and frustrating for you, like I think you should take your time with it, but I think it is important to kind of like push through it, especially if you like the end product or excited about the end product, which I am for this sweater, even though I know it's going to be kind of ugly. But I am just really happy that I have persevered and continued on with this pattern. So yeah, I don't really know what my point is, but I'm learning a lot through this sweater, and I don't have a big update for you right now, but I will be knitting some flat panels over the next few weeks. So get excited to see some big chunks of flat white knit rowed out panels. So that is my Toffee sweater. Yeah, you'll see some big white panels pretty soon. And then my last knitting project for this video, I think. Yes, this is my last knitting project for this video, and that is my Micaela Sweater by Morica Knit. I have said this 400 times. I am loving this fabric so much. It is exactly what I wanted. It's kind of that like plummy raspberry-y mottled, I don't know, just really, really lovely look to it. And I'm very, very happy with this yarn combination, with this pattern. It is quite an easy pattern, I think, in comparison to the Toffee sweater. This pattern is exactly how I like a pattern to be written. I feel like my hand is being held throughout it the entire time, which I know some people don't like, but I like a little hand holding. I feel like I'm constantly being reassured of my stitch counts, that I'm on the right track. No confusion, no anxieties, no frustrations with this one whatsoever, other than with the tin silk mohair from Sandnes Garn that I am using. I said in my last video, it's kind of like thick and clumpy in some spots and then sparse in the other. It just doesn't feel very even throughout, and especially for being $16 a ball, I think it's $16 a ball. I have worked with much cheaper mohair that I think is better quality, so don't know if I will ever be repurchasing Sandnes Garn tin silk mohair, but I will be repurchasing the Leonora by Permin, which is the yarn I am holding this tin silk with. It's just absolutely gorgeous. This Leonora by Permin, I believe it's a silk wool blend, and it's beautiful, and I think it was actually pretty affordable, so we'll absolutely be buying that yarn again. But Anyways, my update on this is that I cast off the body. I finished the few inches of stockinette that I had left in the last video, and I did my 1 or so inch of ribbing, and then I did an Italian bind off, which is what the pattern recommends, and I think this was my second time doing it, but my first time actually like following through on it. The first time I ever did an Italian bind off, I like could not figure it out. I think it was on the second sweater I ever made. I was frustrated. I gave up and just did like a regular bind off in the end, but I am really happy I did it on this one. I do see how stretchy it is. I feel like people always say this Italian tubular bind off, whatever, is quite stretchy, and it is. And yeah, I am just very, very thrilled to have this off my needles, or the body off my needles. I will be casting on my neck next. But I think I am going to actually go down a needle size from what is recommended for the neck. I believe the needle size that the pattern recommends for the like neckband, the collar, is the same needle size that is recommended for the ribbing on the hem, and my ribbing looks pretty messy. I think I could have gone down one more needle size than I did. It just looks a little yucky, a little stretched out, not so nice. I have not blocked it yet, but my plan is to do the neckband in one needle size smaller than the pattern calls for, and then I will block it before starting the sleeves, and then I'll see how the bottom hem adjusts, changes in blocking, and along with the neckline, how that changes as well. And then I will decide if I want to go back and rip out and re-knit the bottom hem. So that is my plan for this sweater. Obviously, it is after after April 20th or 25th, whatever like my wish list date to have this sweater finished was by. Clearly a little delusional. Like, I don't know. I don't think I realize how long it actually takes me to knit things. But some things I knit really quickly. Like I think this Juno bag I'm knitting pretty quickly. I think my Ekin sweater I knit pretty quickly. What else have I made quickly? My dumpling bag. I have a lot of projects that I think I do finish in a couple of weeks or like pretty quickly. And then I have some that just drag on, and I guess for some reason this is one that has been dragging on for me. So clearly that goal finish date has come and gone. So I'm not going to set a goal finish date for this one. I have other projects that are a bit more important, I guess, that I actually do have a hard deadline for, because I want to bring them on a trip with me, and that trip obviously has a start date. So I do have a hard deadline for some other projects. And this is also like a pretty warm, woolly, mohairy sweater. So that is my Micaela sweater by Morica Knit. And we are nearing the end. I have 2 more projects to chat with you about. One of them, which I realize is in the other room, so I'm going to get that, and then we'll talk about my little crochet green dress and this fun, new to me hobby craft activity that I did on Saturday and I really want to do again. My next project is my vintage bright green crochet dress, and I'm actually going to hold this up to show you where I'm at. I'm going to lay it on me, I guess. It is the front panel of this dress. I am so excited. How fun. What a bright color. Not too sure if I like it on me or not, but whatever. It's fun. I'm having such a blast making this. This little front panel is fully finished. So now I have to just make the back panel, and then I attach them, add the skirt, and then I pick up, and I think I do like a little single crochet trim on the neckline and the sleeves and the hem of the skirt just to clean up the edges, and then make the flowers and add those, and then I'll be done. So it sounds like a lot. I think it is a lot left, but this front panel took me about a week to make. So I'm going to say, let's say another week for the back panel, let's say 2 weeks for the skirt, and a week for like attaching, trim, flowers, all of that. So what is that? 4 more weeks and it'll be done. So like late May, maybe I'll have this finished, which would be very exciting. But I have the front panel done. I have run into a small issue with this, which is that I think I may need to either lengthen the straps or go back and deepen the armpit, because how it is now, if I have the straps kind of at the top of my shoulder, it goes right into my armpit. If I put the armpit where I want it to be, the strap doesn't totally reach. So I want to read further in the instructions, because I'm not sure if I like attaching them, if I do a few more of these little squares to attach the front and back. If I do, then I think it's fine. I think I need like 4 more rows total of these little squares in between the front and the back panel to kind of have it fit at the armpit where I want it to. So I don't know. We're going to see. I'm going to start the back panel, see what it says, and go from there. I will say the little strappy parts took 20 minutes each to do. So if I do have to like rip back and redo the straps, or deepen the armpits and then redo the straps, so be it. That's probably going to add like 2.5 hours, 3 hours to the project. Well, per panel. So let's say like 6 hours. So fine, I'll deal with that. I'm just very happy to have this front panel finished. But overall, this is a really fun project. It's a vintage pattern. I was pretty nervous to be working with a vintage pattern, especially in crochet when I've only crocheted 2 things before. I really don't know crochet, but so far so good. I mean, I'm Googling things, of course, but for some reason the learning curve with this pattern feels more tolerable for me than the learning curve that I'm having with the Toffee Sweater pattern. I don't know if it's because crochet is a very, very new hobby to me, so I am more understanding of not understanding. Whereas with knitting, I haven't been knitting for that long, but I've been knitting for a few years, so maybe I feel a little less forgiving of myself when I don't understand a knitting pattern that I think I should understand. Like, of course, if it's some really intense, intricate pattern that doesn't resemble anything I've ever done before, then like I'm understanding of that. But the Toffee Sweater seems like a pattern and a project that I should get, and I just don't get it. So I think that's where my frustration is really coming from with that sweater versus this pattern, where it is vintage. It's a British pattern, so I think they say treble crochet instead of double crochet. So that was a little confusing at first. And it's like vintage, so I think it does assume a level of crochet knowledge that I just don't have. But I've been getting by. I wound up with, I don't know, a thing that looks like a top. So hopefully I'm doing it right, and I will continue to do it right and it will work out and turn out beautifully. But this has really inspired me maybe to knit some vintage patterns. I do have a few that I've purchased off of Etsy. So I think I am going to try to knit some vintage patterns because I feel like if I can understand a vintage crochet pattern, and it's my third ever crochet project, I can figure out a vintage knitting pattern. But that will be once I finish the Toffee Sweater and I'm not working on anything that's really causing me a lot of frustration. Anyways, that was a bit of a rambly tangent once again. But that is so far what I have of this very, very bright green mesh crochet dress that I plan to wear as like a pool or beach cover up on our trip to Spain. That is all of my knitting, crochet, and sewing. And I think I mentioned 5 minutes ago, probably, that I tried a very new to me hobby or craft this past Saturday, and that is weaving. I took a little weaving class with my mom and my sister, and it was so much fun. It was like a 2-hour intro to loom weaving class, and we all loved it. We had never done it before, but it is definitely something that I have thought about for a very long time. But I will show you my weaving project. Here it is. It looks like Halloween. I did not go into it like really thinking about what colors I wanted to use. I just kind of was like pulling random colors and yarns that spoke to me, like with various textures. I have some like boucle in here, some ribbony type yarns, some lineny yarns, some really woolly yarns, some, I don't know if it's roving or just like fluff. I have something that kind of has like a, I don't know how you say it, chenille type of texture to it. Some random yarn. I don't know, just like different things going on. I will say I really loved the class. Do I love my little woven wall hanging that I made? Debatable. I really don't know where I'll put it. Maybe like my bathroom? But it feels very Halloweeny. This green color is just not me whatsoever, she says after she just showed a bright green crochet dress. But it feels a little too bright mint. And all of the other colors are a little dark. I don't know. Very fall Halloweeny. But I had the best time making this. It was so much fun to learn how to use the loom. I loved just how like meditative it is. I think it's probably the most meditative craft hobby yarny activity I've ever done. I do find like stockinette stitch, like knitting in stockinette really meditative, or even doing like this little like, squares on this to be really meditative, but this was just, it really is just an incredibly repetitive motion. I will definitely be going back for more classes, and maybe one day I will have my own loom and I will weave everything under the sun: dishcloths, rugs, carpets, scarves, wraps, I don't know, everything. I'll weave it all. I will just be weaving and knitting and crocheting and sewing and quilting and just doing it all. So yes, that is my little wall hanging that I made at weaving class. Here it is again. And yeah, I think it's very, very interesting, very unique, we'll put it that way. So that is everything that I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.